Right, this is my team for the Newcastle game on Saturday, and it's come round really quick after a really stressful performance against Leicester City. West Ham going 3 goals up and conceding 2 again. 3 goals now in 3 games, and we seem to have conceded. And Newcastle, for me, looks a little bit more... Well, look, it's a lot less stressful, isn't it? They got a good result against Burnley. You'd hope it for them. It means that they're safe and that they feel a little bit more comfortable. But really and truthfully, I think West Ham should be doing away with someone like a Newcastle who they've been really abject this season, boring to watch, really one-dimensional, reliant on key players. And the only threat for them is that they've got a lot of those key players back. Alan Saint-Maximin being the main guy, Callum Wilson as well. I know he's not fully fit, but still kicking in and around. So I think it's an opportunity here for West Ham to, A, pick up 3 points, but B, be a bit more expansive and have a much more relaxed game. But famous last words. Let's talk about West Ham's starting lineup, the team that I would play, not what Moyes will play, because I can see it being a 5-3-2, but what I would like to see in light of some of the injuries that we suffered yesterday, and equally some of the players that I think may be back. Lucas Fabianski in goal. Thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant yesterday. There was one chance for Leicester where Ricardo Pereira's in, and you feel that, you know, the margin for error in terms of getting to the ball is very, very small. And if Fabianski goes a little bit too early, you give away a penalty. But he didn't. He sort of stayed on his feet and then lunged and got the ball clean. And that's what he offers. I thought when Leicester beat our press, they beat our back line, he was out straight away. He read the situation incredibly well. And that's what he offers. He's so experienced. He's intelligent. He's a great shot stopper. And for me, you know, in these last 7 games, we're going to need him massively. And he's so important. So, again, walks into this side clearly. And again, really good to see his leadership ability. I think you see Craig Dawson and Lucas Fabianski having a bit of a laugh after going to collect the ball. And I think that's the bit that West Ham miss without Angelo Ogbonna in this side. And hopefully we can get Angelo back in. But I think Fabianski's taken that mantle of being the leader in the back 4 or back 5. Right back, just to confirm, it is a 4-2-3-1 for me. I have gone 4 at the back, and I'll explain why I've done this, and I'm sure people will be sceptical about it. But obviously, Vladimir Coufal comes in at right back. I thought probably not as composed as we've seen him in possession. I don't think the team were really that composed anyway, to be honest. Last 20 minutes, a bit frail. But the key difference here between last season and this season is we used to see a deficiency in those wide areas, and teams would get crosses into the box all the time. It doesn't happen anymore. And the reason why it doesn't happen is because Coufal's so good at making those tackles, recovery tackles, one-on-ones. He's always spot on in that regard. And I think Newcastle have got 2 options here. They can either play Saint-Maximin down the left, a player that's going to drop inside and carry the ball over long distances, which again is a threat to someone like a Coufal. Or you've got a Matt Ritchie who, again, isn't really going to take on Coufal, or even probably is unlikely to get the better of him, but has got really good delivery. And again, question marks will be asked to Coufal in this game, but I'm more than comfortable to have him just as a conventional right back and not as a wing back. Craig Dawson at centre back, I think, again, he speaks for himself. I thought he was very, very good. I think he was our best defender against Leicester City yesterday. And to be honest, I think he deals with pressure really well. He deals with deliveries into the box. And I think that's where Newcastle, depending on who they play up front, and again, it's either Callum Wilson or it's that partnership between Joel Linton and Dwight Gale where they're getting crosses into the box with Jacob Murphy on the right and Ritchie on the left. And Dawson, it's meat and drink for him. He deals with that all day long. I think he misses Angelo. I think our defence misses Angelo. So I would like to see him come back next to him. So I have gone for Angelo Ogbonna. I know he's in training. Again, question marks. Do you want to rush him back? But I feel that Moyes has probably protected him. I think he probably could have thrown him into the Leicester game if he wanted to. And I'm fingers crossed he comes back in. And it means that for me, we can afford to play a back 2. We don't need to go to a back 3. I'm comfortable as well with what Newcastle are going to offer in the midfield regarding Nobes and Souček. But Angelo comes back in. Him and Dawson had a brilliant relationship before Angelo got injured. And again, in terms of dealing with what Newcastle have got to offer, Callum Wilson is a huge threat just because of his movement, how intelligent he is, his finishing ability. He's a very well-rounded striker. And Angelo's, we talk about communication, yes, but he's a very, very good defender one-on-one. And both of them equally really good in the air. They're not going to get beaten. And Wilson is good in the air. So you need 2 players that are competent, that understand the limitations, that aren't trying to play out from the back and are incredibly decisive. And for me, those are the 2 best centre-backs at West Ham. Now, if it's a conventional back 4 for me, Arthur doesn't start. I've watched the game back. I watched the last 20 minutes and Leicester had so much joy down our left. And I'm not saying we can afford to let that happen against Newcastle, but I would rather add an attacking player and replace Arthur on that left-hand side in the conventional left-back role with someone who I trust, and that would be Ben Johnson. Now, I think Aaron Cresswell, I wouldn't rush Aaron back, if I'm honest. I would rather have Aaron back for Chelsea, and if we go to a back five, then absolutely fine. But I thought Ben Johnson, when he came on, he's I know I say it too much, but an intelligent player, reads the danger incredibly well. I think he's composed in possession when he needs to be, and he's still very, very young and he's improving. And he has done well when he's played at the left-hand side. And I think against Jacob Murphy, you're going to need someone that's going to get out to him, stop him getting crosses into the box, and very good one-on-one, because unlike Richie, Murphy will try and take him down that byline and draw it back. So I think Ben Johnson, for me, has to start. I think it'd be remiss of us to play Arthur Masuaku in a conventional left-back role. I'm sure David Moyes knows that this is the situation with him. So I would like to see this back four for me. I think it's very strong. And I think we can deal with it, particularly with the fullbacks that we've got in there. Now, because it's a 4-2-3-1, you're going to be playing Marky Nobes and Souček as your holding midfield. I've gone for Nobes as the DM and Souček as more of an 8. And I think that's fair. I think Noble has shown that he's competent in playing in a deeper role. I thought passing-wise, he was very good against Leicester. Leicester are a high press side. Newcastle aren't going to press us that high. So that's why I feel comfortable with obviously Noble playing in a deeper role and possibly at times sort of manning that lone DM position. I expect Souček anyway as a centre midfielder to get back and support. And that's the case for some of these players, or for all of the team, to be honest. Pablo Fornals as well. So it's not like Mark Noble's going to be isolated throughout this game. You look at Newcastle's midfield, John Joe Shelby's in there, a player that likes to pick up the ball from deep, isn't going to beat a man necessarily, isn't a natural conventional number 8. I don't think Jeff Hendricks, if he plays either. So really and truthfully, you're only looking at someone like Miguel Almiron. But it isn't individually that you need to be looking at Newcastle for. You need to be looking at them as a team. And as a team, they don't like to really play between the lines. They're not a creative side. They're very, very negative, which again suits Mark Noble fantastically down to the ground. And I think the reason why I'm happy to play a two-man midfield and clearly play Thomas Souček is because you want him to get forward. I think it'd be great to see him get forward in this type of game, because I look at Newcastle's defence, again, lapses against Burnley, who I know they didn't win, but they had them on toast at times, breaking those lines. Their shape's off, the decision-making's off as well. And I think Souček hasn't got a goal in a few games. I thought he was very good recovery-wise against Leicester. But again, I think he's so good going forward that just releasing him to go and break that line and get in the box and be an aerial threat is where he's going to thrive. Now, the attacking midfield 3, I think they kind of speak for himself. There's one guy in here that hasn't played in a while, but let's talk about Pablo Fornals, because I think he needs a little bit of airtime before we get onto the rest. Really, really good against Leicester. And not necessarily in an attacking sense, albeit I think in possession, he's becoming more and more composed every time I see him play. I think that's always been the criticism. Does he rush things? His work rate off the ball is second to none. And I would like to see him in more of an attacking sense, influencing things in the final third, because I think you've got that kind of security with Ben Johnson. And maybe if Ben Johnson is slightly wary and someone like a Jacob Murphy is causing him a few issues, Fornals can get back and give him the protection. And he can also slot back in to create that midfield 3. And I'm not sure we'd be able to have a 5 at the back system, but you could put Fornals just to sort out that midfield. And if Newcastle come late on with the likes of Almiron and St. Maximin, and he offers you that defensive option. So for me, no-brainer, has to play. Really good to see him in this side. And we missed him as well when he wasn't there. So I think now we're seeing how good a player he really is. I've got Lings on the right-hand side, and you'll see why in a minute. Brilliant against Leicester. There's so many players and so many times this season that we can sit there and say a lot of our players have been consistent performers. But this geezer is absolutely different gravy. I think you look at a team like Newcastle with their defensive problems, their midfield, a conventional 4-4-2. We talk about people that can play between the lines, hence why I want a 4-2-3-1. But just because Lingard's so good he can carry it in wide areas if he wants to. He's a nightmare. He's going to draw Newcastle out of shape. And again, Newcastle really can't afford to give him too much time either, because he's great at shots from distance. So an absolute no-brainer for me to play him on the right-hand side. And the reason why I played him on the right-hand side is because I've gone with this guy at number 10, who gets a fair bit of stick, not from everyone, but from some sections of the fan base. And I kind of half agree that he's not doing enough regarding goals, but I also look at the argument that I don't think he's playing regularly enough. This is a type of game for him. And again, we've seen games like this season, particularly against 4-4-2 sides, Crystal Palace, namely. Leeds United with an expansive midfield. Sai Benrahma will thrive in this game for me. He really, really will. And I think it gives us an opportunity as well. If Souček has to sit a bit deeper with Marky Nobes, then again, you've got Benrahma that can play between the lines, can link up really well with Lingard and Fornals. And I think West Ham will start to cause Newcastle a fair bit of problems. And if they step off Benrahma, Lingard, Fornals, then they're going to struggle a little bit, because I think West Ham are going to push up a bit higher. We're going to squeeze them. We're going to get balls into the box. And then obviously West Ham, albeit we lack a little bit of an aerial threat without Mikel Antonio, will inevitably get a corner or a set piece. And I think that's where we're going to hurt Newcastle. But for me, it's a game that you need a Sai Benrahma for, because he's so good on the ball. Again, maybe a small criticism for me, just in terms of keeping that ball and making the right decision. I think there's a couple of players, to be honest, in that West Ham 11 from the last game that when we got forward were making the wrong choices. And it may come with pressure. It may come with the type of game that we're in. We could see this between now and the end of the season, given the circumstances. But just in terms of just being composed on the ball. And I like players like Benrahma because he is so good on the ball. So I hope in this game he influences things. I hope he gets a goal. I would really love to see him get that. And he shows us his quality that we know he's got. And then Jared, obviously, up front. And I've gone for him as the lone striker rather than a front two. I think we can afford to do that. I said about Newcastle's threat and the potency of their attack and how negative I feel that they're going to set up against us. So I think we can afford just to have one striker. Really, really impressed with Jared Bowen. My concern going into the Leicester game was, can he hold the ball up? I know he struggles with it. But where he wasn't holding the ball up, he was drawing fouls. And against Newcastle, it gives us an opportunity to get men in the box and gives us set pieces where we can hurt them. And their defence really has lapses in concentration that West Ham can take advantage of. His movement centrally is brilliant. I think that's another thing to remember here. I thought off the ball, in terms of dragging people out of position, the movement he's got is exactly what you need against a very static back four that, for me, doesn't look like it's been coached well enough. And again, if you've got the service in behind from Lingard, Benrahma, Fornals, all willing to get forward, particularly Jesse Lingard, he'll become a little bit central as well. So it's not like Bowen's going to be isolated, but you feel that it gives us an opportunity to see what Jared Bowen would look like in a centre-forward position, not with wing-backs, not with a front three, but in effect with three attacking midfielders in behind him. Can he hurt Newcastle enough? Can he stretch them? And again, I like us in a 4-2-3-1. I think we hurt teams. I think our creativity and our press going forward really makes them struggle. I think you look against Newcastle, not the best at playing it out from the back, forcing them to go long, allowing West Ham to recycle. I think that's the way that West Ham are going to hurt a team like Newcastle, pressing them high, forcing them into errors. And again, transitionally, look at the players we've mentioned here. Jared Bowen, Jesse Lingard, Souček can join, Sai Benrahma with space. It's a game that West Ham, A, have to win for me, and B, should win. I struggle to look at where Newcastle's strengths are, and we'll cover that in the What to Expect from Newcastle video. But just in terms of a general glance, they're so limited in their attack, and they'll be so negative. And I think even we see that to a degree, trying to defend for the last 30 minutes against Leicester. To do that for a whole game for Newcastle, where I expect West Ham to have a lot of the ball, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll slip into a mistake and West Ham will take advantage. But just to recap in terms of my team for Saturday, Lucas Fabianski in goal, Soufal right back, Craig Dawson with Big Angelo at the centre-back positions, Ben Johnson at left-back, Marky Nobes as a holding midfielder with Souček freed up as a little bit as a number 8, Pablo Fornals, Sai Benrahma at number 10, and Jesse Lingard on the right with Jared Bowen as the lone striker. But let me know in the comment section, do you agree with that lineup? Would you stick with what Moyes is probably going to see with a 5-3-2? Would you change any of the players that I've brought in there? Would you take any punts on the likes of an Aaron Creswell, possibly before this massive game against Chelsea? I'm all ears. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, everybody, and I'll